Good morning. Welcome back. Today I want to just share a little bit of my journey into leadership and into just loving people. And I don't share this to, toot my own horn or really say anything about myself other than if God can use my life, He can use anybody's. And I know that my journey is similar to many people. And I think sometimes we disqualify ourselves because our journey doesn't look like maybe somebody else who we would think has it more together or has more qualifications or more natural ability. But, to use a Christianese cliche that is so full of truth, God does not call the qualified. He qualifies the called. And if that has not been the truth for my life, I don't know what is. In my own natural ability, in my own qualifications, I'm not qualified. I am the senior leader of our community here in Albany, Oregon, our church called Jesus Pursuit Church. Our church has had a global impact at different times in our history, and we have seen revival. We have experienced an outpouring of God. We've sent amazing people out all over the world. There's leaders and ministries that have been birthed in our community, and truth be told, we really had nothing to do with it. At the end of the day, it was a move of God, but something that we hosted and stewarded. And, I can look at the success of my father and feel inadequate. I can look at the success or the impact of my peers and people around me, people that I look up to, people that I run with and do ministry with, and go, what am I doing here? Or I can say, God called me here and He planted me here and I'm supposed to be here. And if He called me, then He's going to equip me and He's going to help me. And so that has been my story. And I just wanted to share a little bit of my journey. I hope and trust that it will encourage you, maybe even set you free to believe the truth about what God says about you. Because like I said, if He can do it for me, He can do it for anyone. And He not only can, but He will, and He is. So I grew up an only child. I'm an only child of two amazing parents. And my dad is a pastor and a leader in our region. And honestly, in spaces in the nation, he is a father of revival, and he's an amazing guy. I love my dad so much, and he's an amazing guy, and he's influenced a lot of people, and certainly our community. And my mom has been an incredible teacher. She taught her whole life and career as an adult working career woman. She was a teacher, and she was an incredible teacher. And she had a lot of impact on a lot of kids through the years. And I've watched my parents and been inspired by them. And they both are educated and just amazing, capable people. My story is a little different. I grew up believing and knowing, because of my amazing parents, that there were no limits, that we could do anything that God called us to, that He would equip us and He would walk with us and fill us for any task that He had called us to. So I grew up knowing that, believing that, and living out of that reality. And I'm so thankful for parents that instilled that in me. I do know that that does give me maybe a head start in that capacity of believing maybe higher than my circumstances. And I'm so thankful. But here I am, an only child, the delight of my parents' heart. And also with that comes pressure of, they didn't try to put that pressure on me, but it's just a felt pressure to perform, to make something of yourself. I was a bit of a perfectionist, and, strive to achieve and do well. And I did in most of the spaces that I was a part of, whether it was sports or music or school or just friends. I did excel in those spaces. But the biggest thing in my life that I can say is true that has led me to where I am now is I grew up in this revival atmosphere of the presence of God being known, felt, experienced. I saw miracles. They were miracles of finance, healing, deliverance, freedom, restoration of relationships, just incredible things throughout my formation and growing up. And that marked me. I was so marked and moved by the presence of God. And I knew that I wanted to live my life for Jesus, with Jesus, for his presence, for his glory. And I truly believed that I would impact the world. I really did believe that from a young age. I had daydreams and real dreams and visions of just God using my life to impact the world. And I thought that I was going to be just being honest with you, I thought I was going to be some sort of famous singer, because that was what I did. I sang, I did music, I led worship, I sang lots of places. And that was what I was known for, was this girl with this voice. And I just truly believed I'm going to be a country singer, and I'm going to use the influence that God has given me in that sphere to bring people to know Jesus. And through those relationships, I am going to lead people to Christ, and he's going to use that platform for his glory. Well, friends, that is not what happened. And it could have happened. I was on a track to do that. But I told you I was wrecked for his glory. I was wrecked for his presence. And I just was. And so I just kept showing up where I could encounter his presence. And I deeply fell in love with God's people. And about 22 years old, brand newlywed young woman, I began to officially work on staff at our church. And my husband and I began leading the youth ministry. I was leading worship. I was serving in admin capacities, but really anything that needed to be done, I would say yes, and I would do it. And I just had a servant's heart, and it was like, okay, God, if you're asking me to do this, I'm going to do it. I want to be where you are. And I just so loved his presence. So, life happens in that space, and several years had gone by. I had a surprise daughter. Wasn't planning for it, but God was. And we were pleasantly surprised, even though I was only 23 years old, to have our oldest daughter, Taylor. And, when you start having kids, just some of your dreams begin to take a back row seat, and your dream becomes them. And so I just put all of my dreams and purpose into being the best mom, the best wife, and the best lover of people in our community. And I would say pastor, even though I wouldn't have called myself a pastor and no one else did, but I was definitely pastoring in that time, even at that young age of 23, even though I hadn't gone to seminary. I went to school to be a teacher like my mom, and then stopped doing that because I just wanted to throw myself into what God was doing in our community, and serve and host the presence of God and be available, because the nations were coming to us, because I loved what God was doing in and through our community. I wanted to serve my dad. I wanted to just serve God's people. And so I stepped away from some of those dreams and just said, I'm all in. I'm all in on what you're doing here in our community, God. And then I'm raising a family. So fast forward about 5 more years. Now I'm a 28-year-old mom. I've just had our second daughter. We are still deeply immersed in serving in our church. My husband has a construction company. I'm helping him lead that, and also now fully serving in a pastoral capacity at our home church in Albany. And things are also starting to now increase. That dream of music and country music and that whole stage is now representing itself to me. And so I'm like, okay, the dream is back. I'm gonna go for it. And so I started stepping into that again. And one night, my second daughter was a newborn baby, maybe 6 weeks old. And that detail doesn't matter. I don't know why I said that. But my husband and I went to the movies, and we took her with us because she was a newborn. And I'm holding my newborn daughter in the theater, and we're watching a movie called Yes Man. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's a silly movie with Jim Carrey. But the whole premise of the movie is Jim Carrey is like, I'm sick of my life. Like, nothing's going right for me. Like, I'm just going through the motions of life. I'm just doing the thing, and it's not fulfilling, and I don't know how I can sustain this. I don't remember all the details. I feel like his wife left him. I feel like things were going bad, if I remember right. But I know he was completely dissatisfied, and he bumps into an old friend that invites him to what we in the church world would call a conference. And the premise of this conference, this event, this gathering is saying yes to your life. And there's sort of a guru there that's leading the event. And he goes with his friend to this thing, and he's sitting in the audience, and the guru of the event is having everyone chant, yes, man, yes, man. And they're saying yes. And he's saying, like, whatever comes your way, whatever you're asked to do, say yes to it. And at some point, Jim Carrey's character is like, I don't think I'm buying into this. This is pretty weird. I don't believe in this. And the spotlight goes on him because he's not saying yes, 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 like everyone else in the crowd is chanting yes. And the spotlight goes on him, and this guru guy goes up to him, and he gets like face to face with him, and he says, I want you to enter into a covenant of yes with me. And Jim Carrey answers, I think, I don't know, actually. Because in that moment, I was no longer in the movie theater, and I was just in a different space where I am still holding my daughter, but now Jesus has come to me, and he has come face to face with me, and he says, Emily, I want you to enter into a covenant of yes with me. And oh my goodness, nothing like that had ever happened before. This was a vision. This was a supernatural experience. And I'd had different things in my life, but nothing like this had ever happened before. And I had never seen Jesus come to me and ask me a question. But here I am, 28 years old, and he says, Emily, I want you to enter into a covenant of yes with me. And I said, okay, I will. I will, whatever you ask me, Jesus, my answer will be yes. And that moment shifted my entire life and changed me forever. And I have been living out of that moment ever since. It's 20 years ago. 20 years ago that happened. And I'm still in that covenant of yes with Jesus. And it has marked my life. It's marked my leadership. It's marked the way that I love people. And at that time, I was doing things that I knew I was capable of. I knew I was capable of being a worship pastor. I knew I was capable of being a mom. I knew I was capable of loving my husband well. I knew I was capable of loving people well. But what I did not know that I was capable of was leading a movement. I did not know I was capable of being a pastor in a space where mostly it is filled with men who have MDiv degrees, who have gone to seminary, who have all sorts of initials and titles behind their name. And here I am, a college dropout, a wife, a mother. I went to school to be a teacher, and the dreams now and the questions that God is asking me, I cannot accomplish these things on my own. And yet I've said yes to him. And I just want to say to you today, if you're watching, that is where it all starts, is in a covenant of yes with the Lord. It starts from a surrendered life. It starts from a life where you say the crazy things to maybe your spouse or your friends, like, hey, my life is not my own. I know this. I am made to live my life with and for Jesus. And whatever he asks me, that is what is going to lead me. That's where he's going to take me. That's what I'm going to put my hands to, and my time and my effort and my influence and my impact is going to be to whatever Jesus asks. That is the first and the greatest place to start. I would not have gone to the places that the Lord has led me. I would never have said yes to being a pastor. That's probably the first thing I would never have said yes to on my own. 100%. I know I would have never, I didn't want to do it. I had no desire to pastor a church. I had no desire to put myself in that space. I didn't have anything to prove. I didn't care. And yet the Lord asked me to do this. He sent people that I knew, people that I trusted, people that I'd never met before, to call forth that call on my life, to set it into motion. Now, I'd already said yes to Jesus. Whatever you ask me, I will say yes. I'm still living in that covenant of yes with him. But now he's asking me to do something that I actually have no desire to do. And I want to make a long story short, so I'm not going to tell you every gory detail. But there came a point where he said, hey, I love these dreams that you have for your life, and I'm going to bless those. And I'm going to be with you in those if you want that. But I actually have something else for you that's my dream. And it's going to leave long-lasting impact and legacy. And if you want that, you're going to find, as you say yes to it, that it's going to become your dream and your passion as well. And I said, okay, Lord, I choose your path. So I laid aside that whole thing of country music and, just even music in general. Now, let me say, I still do music, and I still am doing the things that I love. I didn't have to like die to every dream. But the things that I would have never picked for myself have become my dreams. And not because I had to make them and adapt them and fit them. It's like my mind has been blown to what God can do in and through a laid down life, that I'm like, oh my goodness, why wouldn't this be my dream? And I hope that makes sense to you, what I'm saying. If it doesn't, you can leave it in the comments and I'll get back to you. But the truth is, it all starts from a place of surrender. It all starts from an obedient heart. And as I allowed the Lord to lead me into the things that He was passionate about, He put His heart in me. I began to see people differently than I ever saw them myself. He gave me an ability to love them that truly is beyond my own ability. I'm not saying I'm perfect at it, or that people don't drive me nuts sometimes, or that I don't have to like go away and pray and ask for the Lord's help. I do. But I would say He has given me an ability to love like He loves. He has given me, I'm growing in that ability for sure. He has given me His heart for people. And then there's also been times where like, okay, my surrender, my obedience can only take me so far. And the next thing that I've had to do is lean into growing and lean into where I am inadequate in some spaces, recognizing I don't have what it takes here to do this, but God, you're asking me to do this. So I am going to intentionally pursue growing in this area of my life. I'm going to pursue growing in my ability to speak, my ability to have hard conversations, to manage my own internal emotional health. Because, oh my gosh, almost 30 years in leadership and ministry, there's been hard things. And I have had to be willing to look at the condition of my own heart and not just help everybody else with theirs, but allow the Lord to do some heart surgery. I have gone to counseling. There's been areas of just lack of knowledge that I've had to press in and intentionally pursue growth in my learning, in my understanding, in my knowledge and schooling. I still don't have any of those initials behind my name. I still don't have degrees. But that doesn't mean that I have stopped pursuing learning and growing in those areas of my life. And right now I'm in the middle of a school to grow in my leadership abilities. I want to tell you that the Lord, He doesn't just call the qualified. He does qualify the called. But there is a partnership and there is a leaning in to that process. And it is a process. But it all starts first with, for me, a covenant of yes. Jesus came to me and He said, I want to make a covenant of yes with you. But I truly feel like today the Lord is reaching in through the screen and He's looking at you just like I'm looking at you right now, face to face. And He's saying, hey, I see you. I want to make a covenant of yes with you. I want to be the main leader of your life. Will you let me lead you? Will you let me lead you into places and spaces that you didn't dream for yourself? And that when I lead you there, you're going to go, too much, too big. How could I ever do this, God? But I promise you, your yes activates Him moving to action on your behalf and bringing people and things into your life that will help grow you. And as you intentionally pursue growing. There's honestly no limit to what God can do in and through your life. And I also want to say, this is another thing that Steve Backlund says that I think is so powerful. And it's so true. First and foremost, what God is doing in you is more important than what he's doing through you. And it all starts with this internal process of allowing the Lord to lead you first, you leading yourself, you leaning in and saying yes to him, and allowing him to do the work internally first. And then he will work powerfully through you. It all started with a covenant of yes. It all started with a hunger for the presence of God. It all started with a recognition that my life is not my own, and a pursuing of his presence. And it has led me to where I am now, and it's going to continue to lead me to the dreams that God is dropping inside of me. We're just getting started. 30 years in, and we're just getting started. So I just want to leave you with that today. We're going to talk more about the process. I haven't even really told you what I do with my life, but this is the process to what God is got me to this place of being a senior leader, a woman senior leader, where so many people are like, man, women pastors, that's not a thing. That's not biblical. You don't belong in this space. You don't have the education for this. Who do you think you are? And beyond those chattering voices, those chirping voices that say you don't belong here, God has said to me, you belong here. You're supposed to be here. I've called you for influence and for impact. And he's saying the same thing to you today. I don't know what sphere of influence you're called to, but I do know that you're called. And if he calls you, he will qualify you. And what he's doing in you is so important. And it will impact what he's doing through you. So lean into it, say yes, and we're going to continue the conversation of love and leadership. I'll see you next time.